Good morning. Thank you everybody for coming today. I know it's very early, so I really appreciate you getting up so early. Today, I'm just going to be talking about what it means to me when I say surviving cancer and when it really affects me and giving up isn't an option. So the word cancer, it's the word no one wants to hear. It's a very scary word, and it's a word that's very unpredictable when you face. But as a whole, in the whole world, cancer does not affect a lot of people. But I'm sure everybody in this audience today can think of someone that has been affected or themselves who has been affected by cancer. Here's something even more difficult. Can you remember the exact same spot you were at when you found out that someone you loved had cancer? Now, it may be a little difficult, but for me and my family, we remember it like it was yesterday. So my journey begins with just a little pain in my leg. I played 3 sports in high school, so a simple pain to me was not a big deal. It was just another thing, get over it, and we'll go on with our day. Now this pain persisted in February of 2011 when I was playing intramural dodgeball at St. Cloud State University. One of the biggest things is like, okay, let's just get by this, take some Advil, and we'll go on. 6 months down the road, I'm now at River Falls and doing the same thing, playing intramural sports, and this pain just would not go away. It was very persistent, and it was even worse this time. So, as any kid would do, I just went to the doctors to be extra precautious. He said it's nothing to worry about, and that just here's some pain medication, and we'll keep going. The pain did not go away. I was staying up at night. It was a lot worse than I thought it had to be. So I went in again, had an x-ray, and he had first told me that it's nothing to worry about. He had a laundry list of things of me that it could be, but cancer was the last thing on that list. So I didn't really think about it that much. I got done with school, and he wanted me to come back for an MRI and a bone scan. Now during that, they were kind of a little more certain that it could be cancer. So in my head, while I was sitting in the MRI machine, I was kind of thinking, okay, you have cancer, what are we going to do? But on January 15, 2012, was the first day that my family had to fully cope with me having cancer. I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a rare form of bone cancer. Now, it's the brother-sister of osteosarcoma, and the main difference is Ewing sarcoma, for the most part, starts as a tumor and works its way into the bone. Osteosarcoma is the opposite. For the most part, it starts inside the bone and works its way out. So I'm a 20-year-old kid, and I'm thinking, how has this happened to me? Why is this happening to me? There's so many questions that I couldn't have answered because they couldn't answer them. They don't know how or why this happens. After numerous scans, numerous tests, we figured out, like I said, that I had localized Ewing sarcoma to my right femur. So the athlete in me says, let's get this done, let's go to the next step, and let's figure this out. I'm not going to let this beat me. So this is a scan of what my leg looks like pre-chemo. As you can see here, this is my left leg. All this healthy white bright bone, that's good. As you can see on the right side, all this black, and here's the little bump right here. This is where my tumor was at. So there's about 8 inches of my tumor of my femur that was affected by this. So I had numerous rounds of chemo. I had 6 rounds, beforehand, which equaled the 12 weeks. That was all inpatient chemo. And after an 8.5-hour surgery, there's no discernible tumor anywhere. They got it all. This is a picture of from the back. I have 2 plates starting from right above my kneecap, going all the way up to my femur. And I have 18 screws that go side to side. And there's my pelvis right there. You can see it go all the way up. I spent 5 days in the hospital post-surgery, and after I got home, and after a few days of finally being able to hobble in out of the shower, this is what my leg looks like, fairly fresh. So this is 2 days out of the hospital, and after that, I completed my other rounds of chemotherapy, so that ended up being 16 weeks, once again going in for 4 days, being off for 2, going in for 3, and then being off for 2. When they did the surgery, they saw that the surgeon missed 5% of the tumor. It was right on the cut line that he made. So we decided that radiation was the next best step. So I had 28 days of radiation, and after that, I was in remission. Everything was okay. I was going into the hospital every 3 months to get checkups. They would just check up on my leg and my whole body, and for 10 months, everything was okay. We fast forward to 2013, and I go in for another regular checkup, what I think is going to be another regular thing. I've kind of gotten used to them now. I know what they're like. And September 23rd, was one of the harder days of my life because they had to unfortunately say, Josh, you have cancer again. It has gone to your lungs. I sit there, and it was worse than the first time that I had it because all of that hard work that I had just completed for the last 9 months was useless. It's like it wasn't even there. And now the lungs, it's a more delicate area because it's not like a bone where they can just cut out. They can't take out both your lungs. It doesn't happen like that. So it's like I was living it all over again. So we get everything, all the scans done, all the other tests done, a little more of the same thing. This is harder because I was in school while this happened. I'd just started my junior year. So going to school, I took oral chemo for 6 weeks. That ended up not working. More tumors had grown into my lungs during that time. I ended up doing outpatient chemo where I had to miss a week of school, unfortunately, to go to the hospital every day, but then I had 2 weeks off. So every third week I had to miss school. It really affected my schoolwork, and it showed me, if you're determined, you can really do this. Now, this is a picture of what my lungs looked like before everything happened the first time. All of these little vessels you see right here, if you were to follow the scan, go all the way down, you would see them end. Now, the next picture I'll show you is a picture of my lungs with all the tumors. So the tumors are just blotches inside of your lungs. So there's a big tumor. That was the biggest one. Now, it looks fairly big on there. In my lungs, it was not as big as it looks. So there's one. Here's another one on the right side. There's one over here. Here's a few right there. I had 11 tumors between both of my lungs total. So, as the fighter in me, I just said, okay, let's keep going. I want to keep this up, and what are we going to do next? I did more chemo, and this past January, actually, it seems like a long time ago, but I had my first thoracotomy, which what they do is they deflate your lung, they cut out all the tumors, and they reinflate it, and so I was in the hospital again for 5 days there. Fast forward, we're in April now. I had the other thoracotomy done. Everything is going well. Everything's healing fine. They're getting all the tumors. They see no residual scar on the scar tissue. They say nothing there. So then I have a stem cell transplant. Now, 2 years ago, I harvested stem cells. Now, I was able to take my own stem cells because my cancer was not inside my bone marrow. So it's a lot better to have get your own back because you have a very, very little chance of rejection, which didn't happen to me, thankfully. I had that done in May. I went in on May 19th, and I got out on Father's Day. And I can't tell you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. You sit there and you get the highest dose chemo that they could possibly give you to essentially wipe your body clean. You start as a newborn baby, essentially. You're almost like you're quarantined. There was a chemo that I got that I had to shower every 4 hours, which in the middle of the night it really sucked. But I would be able to excrete this chemotherapy, and it would hurt other people if it touched them. So that was an adversity I had to face there. I got on Father's Day. It was a long road to recovery. Things didn't taste right for a long time. But after I got through all this, I actually bounced back fairly quickly. And this is a picture of me the first day of my transplant. So this is bag 1 of 6. They wanted 10 million stem cells. They got 6.5, which is a very good enough number to have to keep me alive. Because if you weren't giving me stem cells back, the chemo is so high that unfortunately you wouldn't be able to recover. You would just die. That's how serious this was. And we were a little anxious because we didn't know if it was going to work. But as everything proceeded, I had a scan on September 25th of a few months ago. They saw a few things on one of my scar tissues that was they didn't know if it was a tumor, they didn't know if it was just residual scar tissue. And as of December 1st of Monday, I am tumor-free. There's no cancer in my body. Everything's clear. My lungs, if you were to follow all these little blood vessels right here, they would just fall out. There's no blotches everywhere. So after all my giant journey, what has this taught me and my family? It's taught us to stay positive and how important a positive mindset is. You hear all these doctors say, if really a positive attitude does help. And I was a little skeptic of that right away because it's just like, okay, you're poisoning your body. How really important can it be? I can't stress enough how many times I've gone to the hospital where it was, okay, it's just another week. Let's get it done. I know it's going to suck, but we can do it. And that week wasn't that bad. But there were other weeks where I hadn't fully recovered. I didn't know if I was going to make it in because my counts had to be at a certain amount, and it was just horrible. It was the worst weeks of my life. And it just taught me that your mind is a very powerful thing if you let it be that as powerful as it can be. Other thing is to be grateful even for the little things. Now, what I mean by that is when I would be in the hospital for these 5 or 6 days, at then I was 20, 21 years old. I would see little kids that are 1 year, 6 months, 2 years old, and they can't tell the doctors what's wrong. They'll just cry. Doctors don't know if a cry is it they're in pain? Are they hungry? Are they tired? For me, if I were to have to get cancer, I'm glad I got it at the age I'm at, because it showed what kind of person I am and how I can tell an emotion to a doctor, okay, I don't feel good. May I please have some medication? Or my leg hurts, my lungs hurt, can I have anything for it? I'm able to relay to them how I'm feeling that day. And one of the biggest things is you got to trust your doctor. Everybody, there's all those skeptics out there that say they don't know what they're talking about. Well, you know what? They've gone to school. They've done the research. They're in their respective field. They have their medical degree. You have to trust in what they do. And yes, this particular situation, they're hurting you, but it's hurting you to make you get better. One of the final things is I'm sure we've all heard of giving up isn't an option. That's the quote that my family and I made up the day that I found out I had cancer. It has taught me to be extremely determined. And I was determined to get through school and not have to miss a full semester of school when I just started. And I was talking to my doctor, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to finish school. And I'll never forget what she said. She goes, you know what, Josh? I'm trying to save your life. So it kind of puts things into perspective on, I have something I want to get done, but they're just as determined to get me cured as well. One of the last things is, what's been most important to me? You all here, I can't thank you enough for coming out today. I know it's such short notice, and it's almost really early in the morning, but my family and friends have been the most important thing. My dad, my brother, my mom, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, everybody, all my friends that have come out and just smothered me with affection. It's so incredible to have such a community rally around just one person. I never thought that this would be the way it is. I'll go into a grocery store, and someone will come up to me that I never even known and say, hey, how are you doing? It's like, I'm doing very well, thank you. What's your name again? There's just so many people that I don't know, and I'd love to thank so much more than I can. My family and friends are most important. One of the other big things is having a strong faith in God, I think, is really important too. There were times where I would go through this whole process, and my faith got tested. I didn't know how I would get through it. I didn't know why God was doing this to me. I didn't know why it was happening to me out of all people. So my faith got tested, that's all I can say. But coming through everything, going to all the scans, going to all the different, going through all the treatment plans, it's made me to realize that, okay, you don't know if it's going to go well, but you kind of have to put your faith in God. And on Monday, I can happily say that he was able to answer everything that I wanted and all of the things that I wanted throughout this whole process. Now I'm going to end with a short story. I don't know if you know, Merrill Hodge, he was a famous running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he injured his shoulder during a motorcycle accident, or a car accident, And then through that shoulder, he had residual back pain from it. And he went to his team doctor and said, hey, I'm having this terrible back pain. What can I do? They ran some tests. They found out that he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of blood cancer. Kind of ended his career. He's now an ESPN analyst, and he's been cancer-free ever since he's got done. He was at an event that my uncle was at, who's on a bowl committee for Las Vegas. My uncle went up to him, told him my story, and he said, gosh, I was moved by that. Can I get him a football? Can I sign something for him? I forgot the football with me today, but what it says on there, all it says is, find a way. 3 simple words can mean such a big thing in the grand scheme of things. To me, how I interpret that is, when I hear find a way, I say it as, if there's something worth fighting for, find a way. And now I can't think of anything more important to fight for than your life. Like I said, I thank you all for being here today. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. My family and I are all grateful for you guys, and as we always say, giving up isn't an option. Thank you.